Hello and welcome once again to the video. In this one, I will be continuing my look at every Grand Prix in the 2025 Formula One World Championship. Just from a fan's perspective. As ever. I've been following Formula One avidly every race since 1982, just odd races before that, so I have a lot of experience with watching, which creates a lot of opinions. But I don't claim to have the technical knowledge, apart from the very basics that a fan would pick up. Anyway, let's get stuck in. This was round number 4. Was it round number 4? Yeah, it was round number 4, wasn't it? Round number 4. And where was it? Bahrain. Now, as usual, what I do is I list down the 20 finishing positions, the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, and the rundown of the Constructors' Championship. Before I give my humble opinions on what happened in the race. So, let's start. So, first place. Piastri. Russell. Norris. Leclerc, let's do my usual, making sure that is all nicely focused. We want it to be focused. Fifth was Hamilton. Verstappen. Gasly. Ocon. Tsunoda. And Bearman. Okay, 11th. Antonelli. Albon. Hadjar. Doohan. Alonso. Lawson. Stroll. Bortoleto. Sainz. And Hulkenberg, who was disqualified. Yeah, interestingly, Hulkenberg was disqualified in both qualifying and the race. Was he actually? Well, he wasn't disqualified from qualifying, was he? But he got his time removed, which would have meant that he wouldn't have got through to Q2, and Albon would have got through instead, but they didn't take that time off Hulkenberg until it was too late. So it's interesting how he was effectively not disqualified, but penalised in quali and then in the race as well for his barge board under his car being, I don't know what the depth was. I don't know, 1/4 of a millimetre or something. Anyway, I'm not supposed to talk about the race yet, am I? So here is the rundown in the championship at the moment. 77. 74, yeah. 69. Russell, yeah. 63. Leclerc on 32. Antonelli on 30 now. Is it still in focus? I want this cheeky thing to still be in focus. 7th Hamilton. Deary me. He's been sort of 6th or 7th in the championship after every race for about the last 4 years. Hamilton. Terrible. Albon. Ocon. Stroll with 10. Okay, so let me have a little drink and then we'll do the constructors. Okay, constructors. McLaren out front, 151. Second, Mercedes, 93. Red Bull, 71. Ferrari, 57. Haas on 20. Williams, 19. Aston Martin, 10. Racing Bull, 7. Alpine on 6. Sauber on 6. Okay, so what did we make of that race? I didn't watch as much of the practice and qualifying as I normally do. Well, even if I miss parts of the practice, I normally always fully watch the qualifying, but I just didn't have time this week. That's why this video is one day late as well. Just no time. But what I did pick up on was the total dominance of Piastri, really. He was quickest all the way through practice. I think in the first practice session, Norris might have been quicker, wasn't he? But he was the quickest. But Piastri, anyway, was definitely after that, was the quickest, and throughout qualifying as well. And in the race, well, the worrying thing with the race is that basically, if you're on pole position, you're not guaranteed to win, but it's very difficult not to win the race. That's what it's been like so far this year, including the sprint, where Hamilton won the sprint race easily, but he only won it easily because he was in clean air out front, because he was on pole position. And that's where these guys are really doing their great performances, is in qualifying. Piastri won, Norris won in Australia because he got pole position. You know, Piastri got pole position in China and Bahrain and held on to win both races comfortably. Didn't just hold on. Well, I don't mean that he had anyone really threatening him. He was in control the whole time. But Verstappen, he got pole position and therefore won the race, even though he's driving a total dog, according to Max himself. I did hear that Max's manager was having a one-way ding-dong shouting match at Helmut Marko after the Grand Prix. It was all in one direction, with Marko just sort of standing there and just thinking, what is this young pup doing? Everyone's a young pup to Helmut Marko. So, and now Helmut Marko is saying that there's a real threat that Max might leave the team. Max is very friendly with Helmut Marko. They're sort of mates. So why would Max's manager start giving quite aggressive verbals, according to the reports anyway? I didn't witness it. Why would he be giving aggressive verbals to Helmut Marko? Verstappen is only 8 points off the lead of the championship, and he's won a race out of the opening 4 races. And yet, we're supposed to think that he's, distraught at the horrific performance of his Red Bull. Seriously? I mean, you're not supposed to necessarily win every single race. Also, I think if you've just won 4 world championships, would you really be that distraught if it wasn't going totally 100% your way? I don't remember Hamilton going bananas and slagging off his car like crazy throughout 2021 during the periods when the Red Bull were on top, in the middle, sort of like third of the championship when Red Bull were on top. I don't remember Hamilton going hell for leather about how terrible his car was. Anyway, it's how Max communicates. I'm sure he's a lovely guy in reality off the track, but it's just the way he likes to communicate. So, digressing slightly, aren't I? So this particular race here, I saw Piastri, fantastic performance. I think he got fastest lap as well. But do you know what? After the race, I looked up online and I couldn't find anywhere online that said who got fastest lap for the race. I had to, I remembered David Croft, I think, saying pole, win and fastest lap. But I couldn't, when I rewound it, I couldn't find the bit where he said it. But and that's what I'm going by, because I couldn't find anything online to say who had got fastest lap, which is very strange. There's a very good website that I use for information on the races and seasons and statistics and everything, and it tells you every single fastest lap, or it tells you the numbers of fastest laps, basically, who's had the most, and lists all the drivers, but it doesn't tell you. You can't find out who got fastest lap on the very most recent race, strangely. But I think Piastri got fastest lap. Fantastic performance. But I would say that Russell was even better, what Russell did, because he, when everybody else, after that safety car on lap 32, Russell went onto softs. And I think his teammate did as well, but his teammate was further back, Antonelli. But Russell went onto softs and had to go 24 laps on softs. Now, that's reminiscent of Belgium last year, where he made one pit stop instead of everybody else making two. He made one and he made it work, and he crossed the line first and then got disqualified because his car was half a gram underweight or something. So he's done it again, Russell. He's extremely good at nursing a car and making his car as wide as possible. He's like Verstappen in that respect. Very good driving this year. I mean, he's fourth in the championship. There's a definite grouping there of those four drivers at the moment. And Russell has been, what has he been so far? Third, fifth, and second. There was a slight doubt or a slight chance that he might have lost his second place because of the whole problems that he had with his electrical issues in the car and DRS. And DRS is supposed to be automatic, isn't it? But they were having to do it manually. I think everyone was having to do DRS manually. Isn't that right? It's a little bit confusing. I'm sure DRS is automatic. They don't have to switch it on, do they? Or is it that DRS, the automatic bit, is it telling you that you can do DRS, you can turn DRS on, but then you have to actually turn it on. Is that the case? That they have to actually turn it on? I've heard conflicting things. Some people after the race were saying it's always automatic, but it had to be manual, and then other people saying it's always manual. I don't know, but I do know that both Norris and Leclerc, Norris basically was told, don't turn on your DRS until you definitely know that you're within a second, because the transponder signal is not working from the Mercedes, so your car won't tell you that, your dashboard won't tell you that you're within a second. So you have to wait until you can see that you're probably within a second before you use DRS. So anyway, lots of issues. But Russell drove through those, and the brake issues, brake-by-wire issues that he had, where he never knew the strength of his brakes from one corner to the next in the last 10 laps. And still he held off Norris. Now, Norris, third place. He's started slagging himself off again, if you've noticed, just like he was doing last year, attacking himself, beating himself with a stick. He's still leading the championship. I know that the wind is definitely behind Piastri at the moment, but Norris is still leading, and he's the only driver to have finished on the podium in all 4 races. But those 4 races are a steady decline, aren't they? First, second, third. So the next 4 might be third, fourth, fifth. I hope not, but he's very downbeat, because Piastri's now won 2 races. So Norris is 1, Verstappen's 1, and Norris knows that Piastri should be ahead of him in the championship now, had it not been for Australia, because it was just luck, really, that Norris went off at that corner and managed to come back on in a straight line, pointing in the right direction. Piastri went off exactly the same way, but he came back at a slightly different angle, or came back further around the corner and wasn't able to turn the steering wheel, and then spun off onto the grass on the other side as well. So I think that's just down to just bad luck, what happened to Piastri at that corner, and good luck for Norris. Norris must know that. Despite that, he's got Piastri right up behind him again. He has to win. Norris has to beat Piastri. Even if he doesn't win, he has to beat Piastri in Saudi Arabia. And that means finishing ahead of him in qualifying, basically, unfortunately, because this year, despite all the hype and the excitement over the drivers and the teams, the pairings, despite all of that, it's all down to qualifying. I mean, it's terrible. But there was lots of overtaking in this race. This was an exciting race. Don't get me wrong, but it was because of the tyre degradation, basically, and because the Ferrari started on mediums, And because they started on mediums and mostly everybody else started on softs, it meant that Leclerc and Hamilton could entertain us with some great overtaking manoeuvres. Leclerc, who's had the beating of Hamilton for pretty much the whole season, only apart from the sprint race. But the last 2 races, it's been quite marked, the difference between the two. You're talking like, I don't know what the difference was in qualifying between them, but it was about half a second, wasn't it? And about 5 places between them on the grid. Similar to Norris and Piastri, with Norris down in 6th. So Hamilton was quite upbeat after the race, not after qualifying, but he was quite upbeat after the race, because he's feeling that he might have worked out what he needs to change in his driving style to accommodate the Ferrari. And let's hope he has. Let's hope he has. Red Bull had 2 terrible pit stops, didn't they? One of them down to the traffic lights. I think that's terrible when the traffic lights just don't work. And he sat there. He waited and waited and waited for a whole 2 seconds before in the end he just decided to drive through the red light. A bit like on the road when you come up against a temporary traffic lights and you sit there for ages, and after a while, after about half an hour, you realise that the traffic lights are not working and they're stuck on red, and you just had to go for it. And that's what he did. He waited a whole 2 seconds and then eventually he just left. And the same thing happened to Tsunoda as well, didn't it? Tsunoda did put in a good race anyway. He wasn't far off Verstappen really in the race. Performance-wise, wasn't too far off. So, and he has actually scored points. I mean, wow, that's the first points scored by another driver in the max ball, basically. Because that's 71 points, and Verstappen has 69 of those 71 points in the max ball, and Tsunoda is the only other one to have scored points. Yes, a tyre deg created loads of overtaking, which was great. Verstappen, not only did he have 2 bad pit stops, the second one was just the front right getting stuck, wasn't it? That cost him another couple of seconds. But also he went onto hard tyres on the first pit stop, and he was pretty much the only one that did that. There was a few of them that did it on the final pit stop, but he was the only one, I think, that did it on the second pit stop. And it just didn't work for him, so he had to come in quite quick before the natural end of those tyres and change onto mediums. That put him last place, but safety car came out, fortunately for him, after Tsunoda, his own teammate, helped him out there. Tsunoda and Sainz having a entertaining slideshow, basically, we should call it. That's what they should be called, slideshow. Because they were sort of sliding into each other. Tsunoda had a real big sideways slide at one point, which looked great. And lots of bits of carbon fibre and everything came off the side of Sainz's car, and that brought out the safety car on lap 32. And the interesting thing with that, well, I thought it was going to be more interesting than it was actually, but Piastri came in on mediums, Russell came in, changed to softs. Well, Piastri changed to mediums, fresh set, brand new mediums. Russell was on a used set of softs. Leclerc was on the hard tyre. Norris, fresh, brand new mediums as well. And Hamilton on the hard tyre. And I thought, oh, this is going to be exciting. This Russell's going to be all over Piastri at the restart. Norris will be all over Leclerc. But then Leclerc and Hamilton will come through as the hard tyre kicks in a bit, maybe. But no, the hard tyre was just as bad for them as it was for Verstappen. So Leclerc and Hamilton just couldn't put up any fight at all to Norris. Hamilton got past Norris on that restart, didn't he? But surprisingly, despite being on hards. But then Norris just worked his way back past. I'll tell you the thing that frustrates me about Norris, and I have to say it was mentioned by... so I know I'm not imagining it. It was mentioned by Ted Kravitz after the race. And I'm not copying him because I'd actually made a note of it on my notes here after the race. And that is that Norris is obsessed with overtaking people around the outside. He did it with Verstappen all last year. Big wide open bit on the inside. No, I'm going to go on the grass on the outside. I mean, he made it so easy for Verstappen just to do a little jink with the steering wheel and nudge him off the track last year. Why? You know, Austria. Why did Norris think, oh, I'm going to go for that tiny gap on the outside of Verstappen? Yes, there is a car's width there, but there's no more than a car's width. I'm going for it. Verstappen, all he had to do was move his car half a centimetre to the left, and Norris was off the track. Why doesn't he overtake on the inside? And he did that with both Hamilton and Leclerc, especially Leclerc. He kept trying to, and then Russell as well, kept trying to overtake, particularly Russell, I would say, around the outside. Here goes Norris again around the outside, and he was doing that with Leclerc as well, as I say. Why, Norris? Why are you so... And I thought maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe I'm not reading it right. Maybe I'm just being a bit sort of silly and not understanding that that's all he can do in those situations. But no, Ted Kravitz, whose technical know-how is greater than mine, don't know, not necessarily racecraft knowledge necessarily, but technical knowledge definitely. And he said he's noticed it, basically. He's noticed the fact that Norris keeps doing that, keeps going for the outside. Sometimes you do, yes. But with Norris, it's all the time. He keeps going for the outside. And I have to say, I'm worried about Norris's overtaking. I think he's not very good. Last year, I thought maybe it's just because he's up against Max, and Max is notoriously difficult. But no, so far this year, Norris is great when he's out front. He's super fast when he gets his qualifying right, and he's out front. Boom, he's gone. And he would have disappeared into the distance in Australia had it not been for all the safety cars. I still think Norris is faster than Piastri. But Piastri is cooler, and I think Piastri is better at overtaking than Norris, and potentially better at one-lap qualifying as well. But I think in a race, Norris is quicker, I would say, than Piastri. That might get a few comments, but I do think he is. But what Norris is, I'll counter that by saying that I think Norris is terrible at overtaking. He just can't seem to do it. It's not just Max that Norris struggles with. Come on, man. You know, this is your chance to win the championship. Stop trying to, there's a big gap on the inside and you decide to climb the grandstand to overtake someone. Shoot up the inside like absolutely everybody else has done in motor racing for the last 100 years. Only on occasions, very rare occasions, is outside the best way to do it. Not every single time. Verstappen was helped by that safety car because he was the one that didn't stop for tyres. And that shot him up through the field, and then he just had to survive on his mediums. I thought he wouldn't, but he drove well to conserve his mediums. He drove well to 6th place, amazingly well, considering apparently his car can't drive in a straight line and it can't go round corners. And it doesn't brake very well. It doesn't accelerate very well. But he still came home in 6th place, and he's still 3rd in the championship. And he did win only a week ago in Japan. So it's just completely being forgotten about now. But that was, of course, all down to qualifying. So what else? The big thing I wanted to say was about Norris and how obsessed he is with overtaking. One other thing I wanted to comment on basically was I've been getting a lot of comments, and I've heard it said elsewhere as well that Norris is being favoured by the team so far this year. I've never noticed McLaren favouring Norris, and last year you could argue that they favoured Piastri, because when they should have been using team orders to help Norris in his battle with Verstappen, they didn't, not until it was too late anyway. They were very reluctant to upset Piastri and employ team orders when they should have done. Plainly should have done. So that could certainly be worded as favouring Piastri last year. But I haven't seen any evidence of favouring Norris or Piastri this year at all. The only time there's been team orders was for about 2 laps, when they said to both of them, don't overtake each other, it's a wet track and you've got lapped cars coming up, so don't attack each other right now. And then they released them again about 2 laps later. That's the only time. They haven't used team orders any other time. And not asking Norris to move over and let Piastri through in Japan, that's not favouring Norris. That's just treating them fairly. They're right at the beginning of the championship. They're both probably fighting for the championship between the two of them. Why on earth would you order one to move aside and let the other one come through to attack Verstappen? It's not as if McLaren are hunting for their first Grand Prix win. So, yeah, I haven't noticed any favouritism at all. There isn't any. Okay, so how long has this video been going now? Quite some time. 31 minutes we're on at the moment. So what else was I going to say? I've mentioned Russell, and the fantastic Russell. He was my driver of the day, Russell. Not Hamilton, who was for some reason voted driver of the day, like Tsunoda in Japan and Antonelli in China. Makes no sense. Hamilton had a better race, and he may well be getting to grips with his car, but he was still beaten by Leclerc comfortably. So, no, he's not. It's almost an insult to make him driver of the day, I think. I mean, he's worth more than that. You give him driver of the day for finishing 5th. Come on, let's have more respect for Lewis. Driver of the day was Russell. Definitely. Driver of the weekend, I would say, was Piastri, because he showed strength all the way through the weekend. But in the actual race, I would say Russell was driver of the day. So in the championship, Hamilton, in his usual sort of 6th/7th place in the championship, with the person who took his seat still ahead of him in the championship. What else happened with these other drivers down here? Well, Bearman, fantastic, last place to 10th. Great performance by Bearman, really good, because his confidence would have been rocked in Australia with all the problems he had there. So that's a fantastic performance. Sainz had a better weekend. He qualified above Albon, didn't he? But then he had all his problems with when he had his ding-dong battle with Tsunoda, and he ended up retiring. But Sainz potentially was faster. I think he was faster than Albon. He qualify 6th on the grid, Sainz. So yeah, he definitely drove better than Albon in this Grand Prix. So well done, Sainz. He's getting up there. Gasly, also very good. He qualified 5th, but ended up 4th when the Mercedes were knocked down 1 grid place. And he ended up 7th. Well, that's okay. It's just the 2 Ferraris and Verstappen that got past him. Good performance by Gasly. Ocon, good performance by him as well. It's been quite... he's got 14 points, actually. He's 9th in the championship, isn't he, with 14 points, because he had a good... Was it Australia? I think he had a good race. So he's definitely driving better than last year. Lawson way down. Alonso, it's the 4th race on the trot that Alonso has not scored any points. Oh my goodness. Dear me. Hadjar, he's one of my drivers of the year so far. Driving really well. A driver of the year, I would say, is Russell. 2nd, I would say Hadjar. 3rd, I don't really have a 3rd. I mean, just because Piastri's won 2 races, you could say Piastri. But as I say, I still think Norris is actually quicker. But we'll see. But who's favourite for the championship? Oh dear. If it's a mental battle, I would say Piastri. I'd say he's mentally stronger than Norris. But I think Norris is faster over a race distance. Okay, so I think I've finished, basically. Lots of overtaking, so a very entertaining race, but the overtaking was down to different race strategies and tyre degradation, basically. Once again, is yet another person winning from pole position. There so far, I don't think has been any overtaking manoeuvre for the lead so far this season. Yes, other drivers have led. Antonelli's led a race, hasn't he? Was it in Japan or was it in... I think it was in Japan. But that's down to pit stops. So far, we have not had someone overtake someone for the lead, I don't think. The pole person has just gone out, lost their lead when they've had a pit stop maybe, but basically been out in front the whole time in each race, which is not great. It won't last, though, I'm sure. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so. If you'd like to comment, please do so. I reply to the comments. And if you'd like to like the video, obviously, please do so. What else? Oh yeah, and if you'd like to leave a tip, please do so on the thanks button underneath the video. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and for listening. And I will see you on the very next video. Goodbye for now.